Hi, John Marshall, the DrillMaster. This is for you, soloist exhibition driller. Don't call yourself an exhibitionist. An exhibitionist that word is usually associated with somebody who goes around and flashes people. So you're an exhibition driller, armed solo exhibition driller, or unarmed for that matter. All right. So this is a young man 4 years ago. Excuse me, 4 years ago from the recording of this video. Just a couple days ago, this young man that you see in this video won the Florida State Championship for Army JROTC. He is the Florida armed solo exhibition driller. He did a fantastic job, but he posted this video of his very first performance 4 years ago when he was a freshman, just a kid. I consider him still a kid, honestly, but still he's grown into a young man, and you'll see the progression in just a minute. But I wanted to talk to you, the beginning solo exhibition driller, because some of you are probably getting frustrated with not being able to learn more as quickly as possible and really be the outstanding exhibition rifle spinner, and knowing more and more and more, and being able to do all kinds of great tricks and wonderful moves. And it takes time, and you're going to progress. You just need to be patient with yourself and the process. As long as you are consistently practicing, you will get better. So let's go over and critique this very first performance. Now you're going to hear me say the word typical. And typical is not a derogatory term at any point. This is very indicative, what you're going to see here, very indicative of a first-time solo rifle spinner. And you'll see what I mean in just a minute. Now, please watch this with a critical eye and wanting to understand what's going on here. All right. Now you're going to see a left face there. So he's just marching straight back, couple of rifle moves, some easy introductory rifle moves. Didn't have an opening statement. Now if you really want to understand what exhibition drill is all about, you need to begin with my article on the 7 parts of an exhibition drill routine. No opening statement, and he's moving into the opposite corner, very typical. Many times an L shape is incorporated. That is also very typical. That's because you're beginning, and that's okay. It doesn't matter that you're doing typical things. What matters is that you're learning through the whole process. So left face, a slow left face, but it's a left face nonetheless. And now he steps off, still some very basic rifle movements, which is just fine. And then he comes to the center and marches forward to address the judge. Now, one thing that is also very typical is soloists and even tandems tend to think that because we for regulation drill, we march the platoon or the squad into the area, and then center on the head judge. We stop, we salute, and then go through the reporting statement. We tend to assume, well, that's how I'm going to report in. That's how you're supposed to report in. Not at all. Not at all. This is exhibition drill. You don't have to stop to report in. Your report in can be this long. It can be a very quick statement. You don't need to request permission to enter because you're already on the field. You don't need to request permission to continue. You just report in. I'm here And I love the when I hear cadets say, "I'm here to dominate your drill pad or your drill area or drill deck," and that's cool. That really is. It's nice. It's not cliche. It just is a really good, strong statement, and it helps you, the driller, get psyched up for the rest of your performance. That is a good thing. It really is. All right, so very typical, very slow movement here. Uh, 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 he's finding his way in. Now, one thing though, marching back to the back corner, that's part of initially the idea of I have to cover as much of the drill area as possible. I have to march to this corner, I'll march to the center, then I march to this corner, then I march to that corner, then I march over to here. That's not what coverage is all about. It's not checking off boxes. Okay? It's not being able to say, well, let's see, if there's so many square feet and I've covered this many square feet, it has nothing to do with that. It's about effective movement that doesn't leave you standing in a little tiny box that's only 3 feet square and doing most of your work there. This is a really nice non-typical stance for report in. Remember, you don't have to salute. Any kind of position is fine, and you can still move. I've seen just maybe 2, I think, moving reports in and even reports out. Facing movements are also very typical. But what you want to do is, see, let me talk about facing movements now, just for a second. When you execute a facing movement, you are in my words here, you're pushing the rifle around the drill area, okay? And you don't want to do that because it's unnatural. It doesn't flow all that well. So what Ta has done here is he's marched up to a certain point, executed a facing movement, marched up to a certain point, a little bit of rifle work, which is fine, marched up to a certain point, executed a facing movement, then he's marched, continued, and notice he marched down to the corner. Now he's marching up to the other corner. This is fine for a beginning exhibition driller. This is what you think the area coverage is all about, and not necessarily so, but you can see the facing movements, and what that tells me is that you're unaware yet of of having the rifle take you around the drill area. So what I mean by that is that whichever usually it's the butt of the rifle. You bring, let's say you catch the rifle here, and now which way can you go? Well, you can now look at my shoulders as well. Let me move my microphone there. So I've caught the rifle here on purpose in this position. Now my rifles are my shoulders are facing this way, my hips are facing this way. Now which way do you think the rifle is taking me? I can continue on this way, or I can move this way and let the butt of the rifle lead. So it's about the rifle's position on your body. It's about your hips being in a certain position, and it's also about your shoulders being in a certain position or facing a certain direction. Now, taking all 3 of those into account, it will feel natural to move a certain way rather than execute a facing movement. And a facing movement, again, very basic, very typical, and that's okay. You can do this and learn as you go. When you perform your very first time, you're probably a little nervous, your heart rate's going, you've got a little bit of adrenaline going, and that's good. Those are good things. And then being able to then let the rifle lead you through your performance is going to be much more natural. Sorry about the hum. All right, so as you progress through this performance, then, now see, he's come to a certain point, he's stopped, faced again, more work with the rifle as he's marching, and that's good. Usually it's the opposite of what Ta is doing here. A lot of times what you will see is the soloist will stop, toss, do some good rifle work because I'll explain that in just a minute. Do some really good, impressive rifle work, and then march to a certain place, stop, execute a facing movement, more rifle work, stop, execute a facing movement, march to the next place, and so forth. It's just a repetition. Ta's doing almost the opposite here, rifle work while he's marching, which is really good. These are layered responsibilities, and as you progress in through your practicing and more performances, you'll take on or be able to display more responsibilities, simultaneous responsibilities as you perform. So he's doing a fine job for being a soloist. And now the catch with the bent knees, he's this is all I love this performance because it's being a father and grandfather. I love working with cadets because I see them as my own children, my own grandchildren, and it gives me it gives me great pleasure to be able to work with young men and women all around the country who are eager to learn more about performances like this. So he had a drop. That's also typical. You let the rifle get away from you. So what I was going to explain earlier, you have to start somewhere, and most everyone, which is it's probably the best thing you can do, most everyone stands still in their backyard. Their parents bought them a rifle, and they start spinning the rifle, and they smack themselves in the head a couple of times, or they get clocked in the face, but they keep going and they keep going, and they learn to get comfortable with the rifle. That's the biggest issue, is getting comfortable with using the rifle in a different way other than this is why especially Marine Corps and Army, you do everything with your rifle because you want to get comfortable with it. You want it to be an extension of you, and that's what happens in combat. But this is not combat, obviously, but you want to be as comfortable with the rifle as you are with a spoon or a fork. You know how to use those implements because you've been doing it for years. Now it's time to make the rifle an extension of you in your performance, your exhibition drill performance, and get comfortable with it so that when you spin and it doesn't, let's say you execute a spin and it goes into a toss, and as it comes down, you don't catch it exactly the way you want to, and come to that nice, let's say you want to come to a nice stop right here, and you're unable to, but then you're comfortable enough with it to adapt to the rifle coming down. Maybe it twists a little bit, or maybe it overspins because you put a little bit too much energy into that torque there to create the spin or the height of the toss. And so as it comes down, then you're able to adapt and bring it around to where you want it to be, and then continue on with your routine. So as you practice and practice and practice and practice, you get more comfortable. Drops become less frequent. You're able to become more comfortable in your performances as well, and then you're also able to you're able to link your performance sections better. So instead of the instead of the facing movements like that about face right there, instead of is a parochial performance. Parochial means it's a lower level. It's like going to grammar school. You know, your very first, when you first get into school and you start reading, let's say, and you're learning, see the dog run, you know, that type of very, very basic words, and you get to understand them, and pretty soon then you're stringing better sentences along, and you're using better words, bigger words. You're able to put a comma in here and there, and then you use different you'll use a question mark or an exclamation point, and then when you get into writing, your vocabulary expands, and your paragraphs get a little longer, and you're able to link your sentences better together. This is the same thing. You have a vocabulary with your rifle. Your vocabulary is the movements, all of the movements that you can perform. Regulation drill and then also exhibition drill. That's your vocabulary, your visual vocabulary of movements that you can do with your rifle. And as you progress, then you're able to do bigger and better things longer than when you first started. It's the same concept with words and also your performance here. And so if you notice, one of the things that Todd does here is, as he's marching, right here, look at his feet. So typical marching is keeping your feet with the toes pointed out. You want to have them pointed forward. It's better for you physically, but it also communicates a much smoother ability for you to march and even walk. So Todd's first performance is very good. It's well thought out. Even at that very basic level, it's still well thought out. He was able to march and use the rifle at the same time in different ways. He didn't repeat a lot, which is there's a tendency to do because you have a very limited vocabulary. So then you tend to repeat some of the movements, which is fine. A limited vocabulary is fine, but then when you start to expand your vocabulary, then you can replace, in your performance, you can replace certain sections with a different movement or a different series of movements that you're learning. So don't be discouraged. Get out there, do your performance. And now let's look at Taz next, or his last, honestly, his last performance for high school, where he just won the state championship. Now, I wasn't able to download that video. I was able to download this one, but I did a screen grab of the other video on his account on Instagram. If you want to follow him, which I suggest you do, because he's going to continue off after high school and start spinning for independently. It's Todd Drill, and I believe, tell you what, I'm going to pause and I'll look that up real quick. Okay, there you go. It's TA_.drill at for Instagram. And you can see that he has some really neat clips. Honestly, Todd and I have talked a couple of times, and he's done a fantastic job. So, all right, so next what I'm going to do is get into his, there we go, his final performance for high school. This is the screen grab that I took. Alrighty, let's go for it. So this position, honestly, Ta, not all that great. I understand what you're trying to do, but this is, it's more of a lazy, you know, your shoulders are rounded forward and your head is way down, and you've got an S curve going there. So I suggest now, as with anything that I talk about here, unless it's in the reg, then it's not. It's just my suggestion. But my suggestions are based on, well, geez, I've been judging. I've been judging visual performances now for since 1986, starting with Drum Corps United Kingdom. Anyway, so what I would suggest is that you pull your shoulders uh, up square, not back, because that's poor posture as well, but square off your shoulders and then lower your head. So that's going to look much more professional rather than this. So it's a huge difference. All right. Now notice, totally different start off. Remember his first performance, and now look at this. So marching in at port, though, those few steps honestly should be taken out. What should happen is this first step here, that should be this right here. You should have gone right into this and performed. Now he still has the toes pointing out when he's marching. A little bit of a facing movement. I would suggest also that that not be there. Also that facing movement as well. Now, okay, he won the Florida State Championship. Why should he listen to me? Because he's progressing. Um, he we've talked. I've given him feedback, and he's actually changed his techniques, especially the report out. The report out is just fantastic. When he was first trying it, and you'll see when we get to it, but it, there are visual cues in here that really need to be addressed, and this is a great report in as well. Very atypical stance, and it's perfect. Also, notice he didn't march to the judge just to stop and report in. He's reporting in at wherever he chooses, and that's good. That shows a little more power, and it also shows more of a plan in the routine. That's exactly what you have to do. 7 parts of an exhibition drill routine. You need to plan each one of those 7 parts as to what happens in them, and also where they happen. Nice projection of the voice there too. So good step forward on that butt slam, and I would really I would love to see, and it doesn't matter what I'd love to see, but I would love to see more footwork, honestly, for some of the movements there. Some really good behind the back work, overhead. Now here again, just marching with the rifle at the side, marching at port. Everybody can do that. So incorporating something that's different, and it doesn't necessarily have to be constant amazing work that just stuns the crowd. That's not at all necessary. Of course, if you want to do that for your entire routine, now take for instance Sam Gozo. That his performances are just out of this world. Now I haven't seen him perform in quite a few years, but initially I've watched his earlier performances. I judged his performances while he was in high school, and I've watched him since, and it's just nothing but nonstop power, and just smacking the audience in the face with unbelievable work. And that's a fantastic. You get this. You get raised up to a certain level as an audience member, and you at this level so long, and then there's finally a visual rest at the end of the performance. Here we have some peaks and some valleys, so we have a visual high and then a visual low to give the audience a break. This is really good work. It looks like he lost his step here. It looks like he could throw himself out of the box, but he didn't lose his balance. He didn't lose his composure either. It's just great. Nice whip work here, although that left hand, I know that he was counterbalancing there with the whip, but still seeing some more aggressive body work there would really communicate very well. And then, okay, the facing movement. And then here, and then a couple of steps there. Okay, so you finished that section, but that is just great. So one of the things that Ta and I talked about was he was starting out not facing away from the judge, but facing to the judge's left. Okay, so if I'm the judge, he's facing that way and was trying to come around with this move 3/4 of a turn, which is great in an attempt. Excellent idea behind it, but he looked like he was tripping over the rifle as he was working, and it just didn't seem to work. So my suggestion was facing away from the judge, less of a turn, put the rifle in there, and then you're able to manipulate it, and it worked perfectly. It was excellent, and he's applying that technique so well, and just so now put this performance up against his baby performance, and you can see that he's just absolutely expanded his drill vocabulary, and then he's worked on his footwork, body work in there. Now you can go to my website also and look at another article that talks about the different performance levels of marching or footwork, body work, and then equipment use. And if you don't have if you're an unarmed soloist, then you're working with body work and then also footwork. And body work also incorporates arms and hands as well. So where he has very high, intermediate, beginning, advanced skill level in the rifle work, that's up here. Then I would say body work and footwork are at the low intermediate. So there's low, medium, and high in each one of there's beginning, intermediate, and then advanced. So low, medium, high in all three, and so still not balanced all that well in the performance. But like I was saying in the first part of the video, you've got to start somewhere, and most everyone starts off with rifle spinning and getting better at rifle and having rifle up here, and then footwork and body work down here, and then eventually raising those up as well to where everything balances out. And sometimes it takes a couple of years, sometimes it takes longer. It just depends on the individual, but I think Ta, you've done an excellent job here, and you've really progressed well over the 4 years that you've been spinning. And I'm very thankful to you as well for allowing me to use the videos, and I'm just so impressed, and I really want to communicate to you in this half hour of watching this video that you can do it too. You just need to stick to it. You need to practice and practice and practice, and it takes time. I know you want it to come all at once, but it takes time. educate yourself in what you're doing, then practice, 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 then continue to educate yourself as well. Continue to build both your performance and also your knowledge of the performance as well. And you'll advance up to TAS level and beyond if you want to go beyond. I know that I've had cadets report into me that they work this hard just for high school. They get to this level and then they're done. They don't pick up a rifle ever again. And that's fine too. Not a problem. So I hope that all of this has been helpful for you, that it's also helping to explain and even maybe motivate you to understand the process of becoming a solo exhibition driller and what's required, and also being patient with yourself. So if you have any questions, I'm always available until the day I die. All right. Thank you very much for watching.